One thing that really shifted for me was when I learned that there are two different ways to create income: passive and active. The issue is my only asset producing thing I had was me and my time. It wasn't until I learned how the money flowed that I was able to break the shackles off my mind and actually start to develop some wealth, develop some assets, some things that could start to create income when I'm not actively working on them. As of right now, with the business that we have with Prosper, I think we have at least like 4 other people. Today I was sitting on my couch and I actually went down a quick rabbit hole, you know, strolling. The saxophone started playing, and at that moment I realized, while I'm getting caught down this rabbit hole, I have 3 other people producing work towards my business. I didn't need to have a Fortune 500 company. I had to figure out, you know, how does the money flow? How can I figure out the right type of work and work hard towards the right thing? I want to talk to you today about something that's called the Cash Flow Quadrants, but I like to call it the Cash Flow Quadrant of educators. There's a great book for this. I actually recommended it to somebody today. I'm gonna have to get a link for this book and it's video link, because I talk about this book a lot. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's another book called Cash Flow Quadrants where he goes over this, but I want to talk about how it applies to you as an educator. So like I said a minute ago, there are 2 different ways to create income: legal and illegal. Active and passive. On this passive side, for the typical cash flow quadrants, you have 4 things. You have the E, you have S, and you have B and I. I'll put down in the description a brief description of each 4 of these quadrants. E is employee, S is self-employed business owner, B is a business system or a big business, and I is investment income. So let's kind of walk through this and see how this looks in your life. I'll tell you now, 98% of America, we operate in the E quadrant, because that's what we've been raised to do. From kindergarten all the way up, we were trained to become good employees. So if you did a good job and you're really good at it, you became a really good employee. So, you know, you start out as a teacher. The issue with being a teacher, especially as a male, it's incredibly capped. As a teacher, you may make upwards of $70,000 a year if you're in an area that's very expensive. Maybe even 6 figures, but that amount of money is not going very far. So what most educators do is, again, especially males, they're like, okay, I need to get out of the classroom. I want to stay in education. I want to still have an impact. So then the natural progression, especially like I said, as a male teacher, is admin. So you go into admin, which is great. You know, you got a raise. Maybe, let's say you're making $120K.
You put admin.
So my spelling is definitely off. You know, you go into admin, you're making $120K. I appreciate, thank you. That's why I need an audience. I told you guys. That's why I need an audience right there. We're going to keep that right there on the recording. So you're making $120K. Let me put some K's here.
$50.
$70 a year. Oh my God, yes. But so check it out. So you're doing this, but what happens is now your contract goes from 180 days now to 200 plus days. So yes, you're making more per year, but how much are you making more per hour? You're having to stay for football games, after school, bunch of extra responsibilities. Are you really even making more? Well, how about this now? You can't drive a Toyota Camry if you're the principal. You need that Mercedes, bro. So what ends up happening is you end up almost in the same trap that you were in before, but now you just have nicer things, or nicer things now have you. So some teachers, what they think is, okay, I'm not going to participate in this. I'll go ahead and maybe I'll do some tutoring on the side. That's the S. I'll start a tutoring business. So you become a tutor. which is awesome. You can, I've heard some tutors make $100 per hour per client and stuff like that. That can be great, but how are you finding those clients? How are you making any income when you're not actually sitting there with the student? How taxing is it if you're tutoring 5 hours a night, night after night after night, 5 different subjects, 5 different grade levels? How taxing is that on your mind, then having to go back and teach? Go back and teach. Or even if you had something in the summer, you've gotten teaching so you can rest during the summer. You're not trying to be, driving Uber or something like that non-stop. I've done it. I've done both of these. I did tutor and I did rideshare. I was in this boat too. You're still your only income producing asset. It's all dependent upon the time you spend making money. How much is your time worth? Which is more important to you, time or money? Let's think about this. Which one can you not get back? You can always make more money. Heck, we saw what happened during COVID. They're literally just printing money, printing money, printing money. You can always make more money. Money isn't even real, but that's a whole nother conversation. But you can never get more time. You can never get more time back with your kids. So let's see how we can uncap our income. Before I get too far down here, I'm going to skip over this B for now, and I want to go straight to the I. I is investment. As a teacher, you are doing some investing automatically. Here, where I taught in Texas, we have a system called TRS. So that's your retirement. Your retirement, we can say that's investment income. You can't pull from it and live off it now, but one day you will be. So right here, we'll say retirement. For me, if I were to retire as a teacher, first of all, I would have to abide by something called the rule of 90, where the amount of years of service I had and my age would have to add up to 90. So I'd probably get to retire when I'm like 109. But regardless of that, when you retire and all you're living off of is your teacher retirement, you end up having to live off 80% of 100% of the income that you can barely live off before. You're trying to live off 80% of this amount over here that you're already struggling with to live off of. I submit to you that you didn't necessarily have an income problem. It was more so a cash flow problem. So how do we break this cycle? What's the solution? What's this be all about? Am I just, oh man, it's all bad? No, it's not all bad. There's a way that you can take the skills, the ability, the knowledge you already have, and create something that can help you get off this rat race, get out of this wheel that just never stops. There are many ways to interact with this quadrant over here. This is the B quadrant, business systems. There are a lot of different ways you can do this. I talked about in another video how if someone was to create some intellectual property like an album or a song, that is a business system because they create it once and it continues to produce for them after they created it. Or even if you wrote a book, became an author, you take however long it takes you to write the book, but you only have to write the book one time. And it'll keep on producing income for you as long as it stays relevant and continues to sell. What I recommend people do is they take the knowledge from over here that they went to school for, that they worked hard for, and they create something I call a teaching business. What's a teaching biz? A teaching business. That's where instead of just trading hours for dollars for the skills you already have, you use it to create an asset. You figure out, what are the skills I have? What am I passionate about? What is there an actual market demand for that I already know how to do? And then build a business based around that. You might want to build maybe, instead of just an algebra tutoring business where you're just tutoring math in general, you might have a specific way of teaching things or a specific method or a specific outcome that you're really good at helping students get, and you can put together a program, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, however long you want it to be, to where you can attract the same type of student, put them inside the same environment so they're not only learning from you, but they're also learning from one another. Iterate upon that, learn to market it, in a way to where you're not having to be internet famous, but you're just providing value to the marketplace and attracting the right people that are already looking for you. And then you turn that into an actual business, something that you can build once. Let's say you might want to hire some more teachers to teach for you, when you can just sit back and run the business. That's okay. But you're taking, like I said, the skills you already have and you're creating a teaching business. Let's talk about what this actually can look like. I have a friend that I work with. His name, it's kind of irrelevant right now. He was a coach. Let's see what the coaches do. They do things like this and they have a hat on. He's like, okay, I have these skills as a teacher. I know how to teach, but I'm also a father. I have a family. He said, okay, what if I create an online business and I put my time into that? He puts his time into that, put his time into that. There was no income for a while. That's where most people quit. They're used to immediately getting paid from a tutoring session. They're used to immediately getting paid 2 weeks after they work at the job. But he put in time with no income. Time with no income. He knew it was working because he was working it. All work works. It's either working on you or it's working for you. In this case, it was working on him for a while. It's working on him, until he went to market. Now this same one program that he created, he can get paid from over and over and over again. He doesn't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. He doesn't have to chase a bunch of different type of clients. He doesn't have to go through testing cycles or anything like that. He has a business that he can profit off of over and over and over and over again. That's something that we weren't taught before. We were taught that, oh, you're gonna work basically until the day that you die. We were taught that, okay, when you do stop working, at that point now you get to sit at home and be in your rocking chair and live off 80% of the income, or go back and get a second job because, oh, you're still young enough to go get a second job. You can have 2 careers. Oh, I didn't like the first career I had. I love the students, I love the impact I was having, but I didn't like having to wake up at 7 a.m. the first time. Why would I like it the second time? By the time you get of retirement age, you're supposed to be spending time with your grandkids, not spending time with a whole second group of co-workers. Just think about those things as you're making decisions. I hope I didn't beat you up too hard in this video, but I want to let you know that there's a lot more in you than just 70K, 120K, or just trading your time for money. You're worth a lot more than that. Figure out what are those skills that you have. If you need resources, check the description of this video. There's some free resources from you there. If you think you need guidance, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We can connect there, shoot me a message. Or just, ask me a question here in the DMs. In the comments. I'll read them all, I'll get back to you. But I hope this was really insightful for you. Be sure to like and subscribe. I definitely appreciate that, so this can get sent out to more teachers just like you. But I'll see you next time here, and just thank you for rocking with me.